Montauk to Miller Place. LI News Radio is your station for local news and information.
All right. It was a lot of fun. I'll tell you, one of the great memories is being at that show. I did that for a lot of years. That great trade show is one of the best networking events you'll ever find. And it takes place next Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, in Brentwood over the Suffolk County Community College's Suffolk Credit Union Arena. 9 to 3, and leading the charge and getting it ready. It takes a long time. Right after one is over, you prepare for the next one. The great president and CEO of the HIA-LI, Terri Alessi-Miceli, joins us along with the regional director of the Empire State Development in Cara, Longworth, and Jim Coughlan back with us, co-founder and principal of TRITEC Real Estate. And I believe we got all three going right now. And I say a very good morning to all. Welcome aboard here.
Oh, good morning, Jay.
Good
Thanks
morning.
for having us.
Great having you, Terri. Hey, Cara. Jim, you on? How you been, Jim? All right? Good?
Yeah, I'm here, yeah.
There you go. Terri, let's kick it off. I mean, you know, it's really one of the great events that takes place on the island. I've said it forever. Hard to believe the 38th annual trade show coming up. Trade show and conference. It's one of the best. You lead the charge, you organize it and everything else. And it's really designed, from the get-go of getting a lot of groups together and, kind of mingling and trading ideas and keynote speakers. And it's just it's a great event. 6 hours seems like 1 hour to me.
Yeah. It seems like 1 hour to you. I don't know, but 38th annual, can you imagine? I mean, listen, every time we speak, I say to you, it takes a village, right? We begin to plan for a program like this literally right after. So on Thursday is the program. Friday we debrief, and when it's fresh in everyone's head, we begin to talk about what went well and certainly changes and improvements we can make. So we're very excited about this. You said it before. It really has become a catalyst for a lot of opportunities and really important discussions. So we're excited. We have about 2,000 people already pre-registered to walk the floor.
Wow.
And this week is really when most of the registration comes in.
5,000 people expected to attend. You got a lot of exhibitors. I think it's like 375 or so. And the theme this year is, Terri, from what I've read, it's the next business breakthrough. Can you explain that one?
Sure. We're talking a lot about whatever that next business breakthrough means for many of the people and many of the businesses, a lot of different industries on the floor, and that starts with AI, right, and how AI impacts and is impacting right now our businesses. It goes to, post-COVID, what the relationships look like and how do you really network and make connections. We'll have some robots on the floor. I mean, we always have, as you know, Jay, we always have a lot of fun with it, and we had a lot of energy into it as people, walk through the floor. So I think it'll really be great.
Yeah, great panel over there. We had Joe Campolo on with us yesterday, as you know, and Joe does a fantastic job as well. Cara Longworth from the Empire State Developments. I'll tell you, you'll be there. And, I'll tell you, Cara, we talk a lot about the economy on this show. Economic development on Long Island, a key topic indeed. What can you tell us? What can you tell us at this point in time as far as your perspective on what makes development on the island a little bit different, let's say, from let's say Rochester or other regions of the state of New York? I want to hear that. Let's hear.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, and I'm very excited to go to the HIA Luncheon next Thursday and speak more about what we're doing through Empire State Development and the Regional Economic Development Council to move the economy of Long Island forward. It's a great venue because that's where so many of our businesses are there, and the leaders of the region, so they can hear what we're doing. Because just as Terri said, it takes a village to put on the trade show. It takes a village to move economic development in the region. So We need all of our partners. Long Island is different from the rest of the state, and that's why about 16 years ago, the state started running economic development through the regional economic development councils. So it lets each of the 10 regions of the state develop its own strategic plan. Because you're right, what's happening in Rochester or what's happening in the North Country is not the same as what's happening on Long Island. So it gives us an opportunity to direct state funding to our strategic plan that is created by our regional council, of which Terri is on my regional council and helps us direct that strategic plan. Long Island has tremendous assets. We also have tremendous challenges. Our assets are we have 22 colleges, world-renowned research facilities, Cold Spring Harbor, Brookhaven National Lab, Feinstein Institute, Stony Brook University, which is the flagship university of the SUNY system. We have these tremendous assets, and what I'm going to be talking about at the trade show is a project that we are undertaking this year. We won a competition last year through the regional council. It was called Achieve, but we won $30 million to really capitalize on those assets and try to grab the innovation and entrepreneurship that's happening in all those research facilities and commercialize it and create businesses here, businesses that will create family-sustaining jobs. So we're really excited about this. It's called the Commercialization Corridor. I'll be talking about it. We're working with an entity called New Lab, which started in Brooklyn, which helps foster innovation, entrepreneurship, create hard tech, like building things, robots and machines and everything like that, of the future. Like Terri said, these are going to be the jobs of the future, and we're really excited about it.
Boy, the future, we always talk about Cara of keeping the young here. And with the high costs, we know they're out there, the challenges, trying to find housing, infrastructure needs, and whatnot. I mean, that's a lot to put on as far as pressure of retaining, the youth, young professionals to kind of grow the economy here. And that's been the subject of discussion for a very, very long time, especially of what many are facing right now. You'd agree to that, right?
Oh, absolutely. We've lost 100,000 people in the last decade between the ages of 18 and 34. Those are our prime working people. Every one of those companies is going to be represented at the trade show on Thursday. They need those employees. They need them. We need to find a way to keep them here. One of the things we are working on quite a bit is housing, creating diverse housing. We need to build more multifamily housing, which is so great that Jim Coughlan's on, because they have done such a wonderful job in helping the region move forward with housing. We know our young people want to live in apartments in and around downtowns and train stations. And so the state is really focusing. The governor has made housing a priority. It is especially important on Long Island, where we are losing that really important segment of our community.
No question about it. Jim Coughlan, you have been a staple at this trade show for so long. Jim, of course, with TRITEC and involved in some of the island's most visible mixed-use and transit-oriented projects. Jimmy, how do you describe what's happening right now, kind of development that TRITEC is really trying to create at this point in time? Let's hear that.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Jay. And great to be here with Terri and Cara, and both in huge parts of helping TRITEC do whatever we've been able to do. And it's a challenge for sure on Long Island. We are a very different regulatory environment in terms of getting things approved. We've got multiple layers of government. We've got 120-something school districts. We've got multiple business improvement districts, library districts, sewer districts. We've got lots of layers of government that can stop a project. And it's a lot harder to get to yes on Long Island than it is in many other places in the country. We also, most of our populations came from Brooklyn and Queens. My family did. A lot of the families on Long Island did. And it sort of brought an attitude that we left Queens or Brooklyn for a reason, and we don't want density. And that sort of overarching feeling has stifled development of any kind of downtown or revitalization type projects for decades. And I'm really glad that at the trade show we're going to have Paul Pontieri on the panel, the mayor of Patchogue, because he really is and was the political visionary who was the first to take it to the streets and say, you know what, we need multifamily housing in our downtown. Patchogue was a struggling downtown, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, very struggling, a lot of vacancy, a lot of crime, not very good retail on Main Street, terrible rents on Main Street. The retail that was there was kind of bail bondsmen and laundromats. It really wasn't what you want in your downtown. And Paul really put it on his back to say, I've got to change the way that we view mixed use on Long Island. And he invited us in to redevelop a village block at the corner of Montauk Highway and Ocean Avenue, which is kind of the corner of Main and Main in Patchogue. And it really did ignite more than we ever expected. We invested $112 million to build 291 apartments and 40,000 feet of retail. But it really ignited another $750+ million of investment up and down Main Street, where 45 new businesses came in, and most of the buildings along Main Street were revitalized and reinvested in. And that 2.5 square mile village received, roughly $1 billion of investment because of that decision and the leadership that Paul gave. Now you've seen people around the island, especially political leaders, saying, "Hey, look, that really worked in Patchogue." And Paul has run unopposed 5 times since then, even though it was a very challenging election for him while the project was under review. But he's run unopposed 5 times since then, and we've been calling to several other downtowns to try to ignite the same type of change. And we're as I said, we're a very unique island. We are a long island, and most of us came from the west of here and moved east and said we don't want density and we don't want diversity and we don't want the boroughs. But the other successful suburbs in the nation have invited in nodes of density to have a sense of place in their community. Whether you're talking about Bethesda, Maryland, or rest of Virginia, or around the country, very nice suburbs, but they have nodes of density in Fairfield County, Connecticut, Westchester, northern New Jersey, and we fought it for years. And so we're thrilled that Paul took the leadership. It's really gotten the groundswell. Government help, from Cara and the ESD has been huge, particularly Station Yards in Ronkonkoma. And organizations like the HIA getting the word out there through events like the trade show has really, really helped, spread the word that this is good. It's good for Long Island to create housing at any income level, to just create supply, give us housing options, keep our young people, keep our empty nesters as well, people with money that are looking to just not be drained of it by their property taxes and want a different type of housing. So there's a lot of excitement, a lot of groundswell going on right now. HIA has been a huge part of it. Obviously, ESP has been a huge part of it, and we're thankful to be a part of it as well. TRITEC.
Yeah, those are 2 great things. You're right. Revitalization of Patchogue Station Yards, I saw, is just unbelievable, and still going strong, by the way. And then you got something else going on Bayshore there. I mean, what Paul Pontieri has done with Patchogue is just permeated to other parts. Amazing, really. And Terri is all part of the scene, Terri Alessi-Miceli, as far as next week in the trade show over in Brentwood. One of the great things, Terri, I've always loved about it is the panel that is set up, the luncheon. It's second to none. You're going to have opening remarks this year by our Southern County executive, Mr. Ed Romaine. He's going to kick things off next week, correct?
He believes strongly, as we all do, in how important it is to get our young professionals staying here. And we were talking about studies that are being done right now in the future of what's happening with young professionals, that they're wanting to stay, right? But I think we need to give them a reason to stay, right? It's our responsibility, I believe, to really talk more about the wonderful businesses that are here. And, Jim and TRITEC and developers like that are doing a great job with the supply and demand of, the growing demand of, apartments that we need, not only for our young professionals, Jay, but for some of our retirees that want to downsize, right, and don't want to live in a house and don't want to do a lawn and things like that, so that there are options for people. So we'll be talking about it that at the luncheon. We affectionately call Paul Pontieri in the business world the grandfather of mixed use because of what Jim said. Patchogue is just, I'm sure you've been down there, is just a great example of what can happen with a former blighted area and just, bringing it alive. We were down last Thursday, Jim, I think it was. I don't even remember, for our pre-trade show event at Station Yards. If you have not been down there, you have to get down there. It is just vibrant. There is energy. There are people moving around. It's that live, work, play environment. So that's what we'll be talking about. We have intentionally invited, Jay, colleges, high schools. Kids will be walking the floor this year from programs like DECA and, a lot of other programs that the high schools run. To hear what's going on, to see our businesses, and to be in that luncheon. They have to hear about what's going on Long Island.
No question. So important. And Jim, you know better than anyone. Listen, kids need to know that they can afford, to kind of build and whatnot, seeing, their families and everything else kind of started up. Nobody wants to leave Long Island. Let's face it. But it's changed. Places change. And the one thing you got to do for the youth is make it affordable. Not only housing, you got to have the jobs, obviously. And, Jim, that's a big component as far as the future is concerned, right?
Absolutely, Jay. And, it's really, it boils down to supply and demand. We, as I mentioned before, have fought supply here for a long time. Nobody wanted, the word queensification became a word which I had not heard until about 10 years ago. And people don't want the queensification of Long Island, and they fight supply. And supply, even brand new, high-cost, luxury housing creates better affordable housing than any affordable housing mandate that we could put in through the government. The more that we create the supply, it frees up units that are, most of our multifamily housing stock is over 50 years old. And it has no amenities. They're not walkable. They're what used to be farmlands or, hidden away places where people didn't want the housing to be seen. And it still, because of the lack of supply, commands rents that are very close to the rents of brand new, highly amenitized, walkable downtown type rentals. And the more we create supply, the more we're going to create affordability. And and the affordability, by the way, and the availability is really the most important thing. I mean, the employers here on the island that help us grow, particularly our hospitals, our healthcare system, our universities, our Department of Energy labs, our Coldstream Harbor labs, they try to attract people to move here. And when they're coming, they're not necessarily going to come, to say, I'm coming to Long Island for my lifetime. But we want them to move here. We want them to come with their intellect and their high salaries, but they have nowhere to move to. And so it's hard to get somebody to move here from Boston or from San Francisco or from Florida and say you've got a 2-year stint at one of these very high-paying jobs that we're trying to fill. Well, HIA has 53,000 employees in the Hot Block Industrial Park, the Innovation Park, I'm sorry. And 53,000. I mean, that's huge. And it needs to be restocked and refilled with employees all the time. And those employees aren't all from here. We need to have places where people want to move here from, and then, in addition, where people want to stay. So it's all about creating supply, and it's starting to get a groundswell of support. We're super excited about it.
No doubt about
it. The HIA
it.
is a big part of that.
And that's key, because you look at median prices on homes. We talk about it all the time. Nassau is just off the charts, 850, whatever it is. And so, who would have thought something would be over 700,000 median price? But you couple that, Jim, with high cost of utilities and energy in general, it's a problem. But hopefully you're working it hard. Listen, I love what you're doing at Station Yards. I'll tell you that much. That's attracting a lot of people, without question. And Cara, and then we'll get to Terri on the close. But Cara, you're important because we talk about the state, we talk about the economy, we talk about the state budget, which is about $268 billion, give or take, not in place yet. We might add. We talk about the schools. They just voted about $5.5 billion heading there. It's about that 2% tax cap and everything else that's key. But you got to make sure that people are sound here, and you've got a lot on your plate as you're watching all this stuff.
Is there a question there, Jerry?
Yep. That's for Cara. That's a lot on the plate right there to digest. But we talk about it a lot. And, you do a great job with Empire State. You're watching a lot of this stuff as far as business and government and the partners and projects that are in play here, investments, and really kind of supporting the growth here economically on the island.
Yep, that's what we do. That's what Empire State Development and the industrial development agencies on Long Island. That's what we do. At our heart of it, we're there to create the jobs. We call it tradable sectors. Our manufacturers who are creating things and increasing the GDP. Making things that they're selling off the island, out of the country, out of the state. I mean, this is what keeps the island going, and this is why everything that Terri does in the park is so incredibly important. She supports all those incredible manufacturing plants that really are the basis for economic development in the region. And we need, we look at economic development in four pillars. Tradable sectors. We support all of our manufacturers with tax breaks and incentives and grants. Global exporting support, technology support. We have programs, so many programs at Empire State Development. We encourage all companies to just call our phone number and ask, or come see us at the trade show because we will be there. So we focus on building up our manufacturers. We focus on supporting our innovation and entrepreneurship, taking all that incredible research and ideation that's happening in our research facilities and our colleges and creating jobs out of that and creating new companies from that. And that's what we're doing with our Achieve program this year. We focus on placemaking, as we've been talking about. Those companies cannot grow and expand without employees. So we need to invest in places where people want to live and raise their families, and that's why we support projects like TRITEC projects in Ronkonkoma and across the region. And last but not least, workforce development, right? I mean, we can, even if we have the people, we need to train them for the appropriate jobs, and it's changing rapidly. The news with AI and everything that else is happening. Kids, what they're learning in college isn't necessarily what they need to know when they hit that first job. So our employers are really desperate to help with assistance to train the workforce as they enter. So those are our four pillars where we really focus on putting state investments to make sure the economy in the region is moving forward.
Yeah, very important stuff. The businesses, it's important to grow. Housing, obviously important. Infrastructure, transportation, communities where people want to live, work, and invest. That's what it's all about. And, Terri, it's such a great event. We keep talking about it, but for those who want to attend, you can go to the site, folks, HIA-LI.org/trade show. And you can contact our good pal over there, Anthony. I'm going to give out the number here, 543-5355, 631-543-5355. You got the executive luncheon. That's a ticketed event, by the way, and advanced registration is required. And all are encouraged, if you want to attend, to pre-register online. That's probably the best way to go. Otherwise, you're going to face lines and everything else. But, Terri, you're in place for, hopefully it will be a great event next week, my dear.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. As of this morning, Jay, I just also wanted to mention we have 3 exhibit booths left.
Okay.
So for those people who have waited till the last minute, please join us. And as you said, if you want to walk the floor, make sure to pre-register. You can avoid a $10 walk-in fee as well. So excited to have Cara and Jim and, again, this panel talking about critical needs on Long Island. And there's just so much for everyone. There's breakout sessions. We have what are called trade show talks, like TED Talks on the trade show floor. So come down and join us.
Yep, LI News Radio will be there. We're doing a lot of interviews, always a lot of fun. It's one of the best events out there, I'll tell you that much. Can't thank you enough. Terri, great job as always. Cara, we look forward to it. Cara Longworth from the Empire State Development, and, of course, Mr. Jim Coughlan, of course, from TRITEC. Jim, keep it up. Good work. Cara, you too. Terri, all great stuff, and we look forward to next week.
Oh, thanks, Jay.
Thanks,
you got it. Thank you, Cara. Thanks, Jeff. You got it. Excellent. There you go. 8:38. We'll do a reset, Shane, the quick reset, and give a couple of headlines out. What do you say? As we close out a very busy Thursday morning program, we return with the headlines right after this.